too. So here's what's about to happen. And this, I think, is going to be amazing. I'm so glad we're doing this because even earlier today, Brian was doing a role play for us, and it was one of the most powerful parts of his message. And so I think you guys are going to love it. So here's what I want you to know about this team. So TGP team is together, and they are actually going to handle the role play for us. Bert is with them. That as a team, they did just under 4 million in booth sales in 2021. That's without 3 of their big events. Actually, they got canceled last year as well. They're going to role play some approaches for you. As you listen, here are the suggestions I want you to be thinking about while they're role playing. So one is definitely, obviously, take notes. If you can take notes, write down questions that you have, that kind of stuff. But pay attention not to just the words. Kind of like Brandon said earlier, it's not always just about the words. It's about, like, pay attention to the tone, the sequencing, right? The verbiage, the way they're using their inflection, like the way they use their displays or their other tools. Like, pay attention to all of that, because all of that feeds into the music of it, right? Not just the words. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys, and when they're finished, we'll come back. We're going to do some last things, and then we'll wrap up the day. So TGP.
That's fantastic. Can you guys hear me okay, Amy? Yes, no? Perfect. All right. Well, guys, welcome to the Dallas Pilot Office, TGP. We've got TGP as well as some of our awesome guests and extended family here with us today. Over the next 2 days, we're going to get a chance to do some of the role playing here. I'm really excited. You're going to hear from Bert. You're going to hear from a bunch of our team. You're going to hear from Josh. And particularly in just a minute, we're going to bring Bert back up, and he's going to actually role play his new customer script for us, which I think is so key. To kind of kick it off, though, I was actually asked if I would run through my business gift approach here at the booth. And don't get me wrong, we have amazing business gift reps here. You've already heard from several of them. To really learn the super detailed scripts and the 8 or 9 questions, Rob Robinchuk's incredible on that. But I've definitely had a lot of success using a really simple approach. And I think that that's the key, is just figuring out how all of us can implement as many of the programs here as effectively and confidently as we can. In the last 2 months, all at the booth, I closed an order for 50 shears, for 55 petite santokus, for 10 gut hooks, 20 gut hooks to another customer, 10 lockbacks, and a bunch of K-bar explorers. And honestly, that was just fumbling around, but I did $50,000, $60,000 in business at the booth this last year, mostly in the fall, just by adding some really simple business gift scripts in. So gonna get a chance to kind of kick it off with that, and then we'll turn it over to Bert and really give you guys the muscle. So for me, business gifts are very much positioned as an upsell. So I'm going to have my order form. I'm old school like that. We're going to write it up, and then I'm just going to go through with my customer, and you guys get to be the customer. So, hey, by the way, what do you guys actually do for work? Oh, wow, that's fascinating. So do you own the business? Oh, man, that's really, really cool. That's so awesome. Well, by the way, do you guys ever give away gifts as appreciation gifts for employees, for vendors, for top clients, anything like that? Oh, wow, you do? Oh, that's really cool. The reason I ask is because I actually work with business owners providing just quality corporate gifting solutions. And it's pretty great because we're actually able to digitize your logo and your brand and put that on our products. And people just love it because it's aligning with a company that's been around forever. It's American made, and it's just something that consistently reinforces your brand. And, I work with a lot of customers, and they really love this because Cutco is so high quality. It's American made. It's practical. It's something that people get a lot of use and value out of. And then on top of that, it tends to come out in social settings. And so it's just always doing the work of really reinforcing your brand and reinforcing your business and just kind of what you're all about. It's a permanent business card. How's that? And everybody loves Cutco. So yeah, just a couple of the, to kind of give you an idea, a couple of the examples here. One of my customers, they're home appraisers, and this is one of theirs right here. And in the past, they had always done consumable goods. They did bottles of wine, they did gift cards, they did things like that. And, it was always appreciated, of course, but ultimately it was just kind of there and gone. And it wasn't really having that long-term effect they were hoping for. And they just kind of realized they'd spent thousands of dollars over the years, and it just wasn't really getting them the solution they wanted other than that one cool interaction. So they've been really excited. I've worked with them for about 3 years now doing their corporate gifting. This one right here, I love. This is like the coolest knife on my table. I saw you eyeing it before. This is one of our Cutco K-bar knives. And this is actually an earth moving company that I work with. They do trucking, they do bulldozing services, earth moving. And in the past, they had really just done hats and shirts and koozies and things like that. And I mean, honestly, it was kind of more swag than quality gifts. And, as they were starting to get bigger accounts and do bigger bids, and, they actually turned over a few employees, they wanted to really make sure they were kind of locking in their team and just had a better image. So they actually switched over to this. And I think they have some of the coolest, funnest gifts out of anyone that I get a chance to work with. Probably one of my favorite clients is actually one of my insurance companies right here. And in their case, I've been working with them for a couple of years now. Every year they'll do 80 to 120 gifts, and we're able to get them a really, really nice discounted rate. The more people are getting, the more that we're able to sort of offer off on the price there. But in their case, the reason why they really love Cutco for their corporate gifts is because it just took it off their plate. It just got to a point where it was just something that was taking up time from the business owner, from his executive assistant, and it just allowed them to focus more on their business instead of kind of coming up with gifting solutions or running around at the last second. They really let me just kind of be a part of their team. And so every year I'm able to come and bring them a couple different options to make sure that, we hit their budget, and it just has a really, really strong response. So that one's always really fun. This one here is actually one of my dentists, and they never had done gifts. And honestly, I don't know that my dentist has ever given me anything cool, but they found out one of their colleagues, they were at like a professional luncheon, and they found out that they had like these tiered gifts they did when people had been with them for 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, and that they got tons of referral business from that. And so Dr. Williamson just realized she was leaving a lot on the table and not doing that. So we've been able to come up with some really, really cool solutions for them. This one right here, this was kind of a fun one because God bless Colt. Him and his wife are really cool people, and they take great care of their employees. They've always done cash bonuses, and obviously everyone loves cash. Like that's never a bad thing, and they still do that. But what they decided to do was start peeling away just a little bit of that and investing it in some gifting solutions. And what was kind of funny was they found out how many of their employees never even shared with their spouse they were getting bonuses at the end of the year. And so it was just kind of this funny thing where it was like, oh, it's just fun money. But by doing this, at least it got it in their home, and the spouses felt taken care of, and they felt a real part of it. And, it's just kind of that happy spouse, happy house type thing. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why people use us for gifting purposes. But in your case, just out of curiosity, who usually makes the decisions for your company? Oh, it's you. Okay, you and your wife. That's awesome. Well, I know she loves Cutco. That's why you're buying her that set. So that part's pretty fun. Well, let me show you really quick just some of the promotions, some of the volume pricing that we have here, blah, blah, blah. We kind of go through that. So just out of curiosity, we've gone through that option. Out of curiosity, if we found an option today that you really, really fell in love with, and I could just blow you away with a really great deal, do you think that's something you might consider just making a decision on today? We could just pull the trigger, because the benefit for you would be not only will we get you that Cutco discount, but by doing it here at the show, I can bundle it with the deals that we have here. So what do you think? Is that something you think might even be in play? If they say no, we schedule a follow-up. But if they say yes, it's really easy. I just go, fantastic. Well, hey, give me a shot. Let me see if I just blow you away with this. And then my parting shot, no matter what, I always get something back in their hand. And I go, I got to tell you, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, I really can't wait to do business with you. And what I'm most excited about, and I'll hand him the knife, and I go, I'm most excited for the first time you open that box and you see this just beautiful, beautiful knife. It's heavy, it's gorgeous, and it's got your logo on it. It's such a cool experience because this is your business. You've built this up. It's a huge part of you. It's a huge part of your family. And just seeing it on there, it is a cool experience. I get that feedback from every business owner I work with, and I really can't wait for y'all to experience it too. That's basically it. It's quick. It's not clean like a lot of people's, but it doesn't have to be. Just have some fun with it, be sincere. And of course, the most important thing is just be really consistent, asking and offering every single time. I also think having some stories in your own samples out, kind of like they talked about earlier in the breakout, I think that's a real win too. So that was just to break the ice. I'm going to go ahead and pull Bert in here. And guys, Bert, obviously, I mean, you just heard him and it was incredible. And if you guys are anything like me, you just want to hear him bang that thing out again so we can all benefit from it. So Bert, come on over, make yourself comfortable. If there's anything that you need here we don't have, let me know. But I pulled out the specialty knives and yeah, I'll get that out of your way. What's that?
Want to be my customer?
If you want a customer, I'd love to be your customer.
That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah.
All righty. All right, everybody see me? Good? We're good? All right, sweet. All right. How's it going? Are you familiar with Cutco?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Are you guys in the market for some good knives?
Man, our knives at home are terrible, so we probably need something better.
Okay, cool. Do you know what kind of knives you guys have at home right now?
I think it's some German brand we got when we got married, something like that.
Okay, how are they treating you?
You know what? They're pretty dull. I think
Okay.
every knife in our house is dull. So they were good when we got them, but we just haven't really kept up
Sure.
with them.
Probably kind of frustrating having to use a knife that's not exactly working very well every time you cut food.
I'm not that great with them anyway, so that doesn't help.
Do you do most of the cooking? Does your wife do most of the cooking?
No, we kind of split it up. She
Okay.
definitely does more than me, but I try to help out.
Okay, sweet. So, so you're not familiar with our stuff. You've never really heard of them before, or never seen them in. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we're so the cool thing about our stuff. Let me kind of show you what's different really quick about our stuff. So I don't. You said does a German Wustaf? Does that ring a bell?
Sounds right. Something
Maybe
it's hard to pronounce.
Wustaf or Hinkles. Okay, cool. So I want you to do me a favor really quick. I want you to take this knife for me. This is a knife that they make. This is a tomato knife that they make. If you were to buy this from them in store today, it's going to cost you about $80 to $90, depending on if it was on sale. So hopefully you're never cutting a steak that's as tough as leather. But if you are, I want you to do me a favor, just hold that out for me. So you'll actually notice it's actually pretty sharp. So it kind of pops right through there, right? Not bad.
Definitely better than ours.
Yep. So to give an example though, I'm going to give you a Cutco steak knife. So imagine a steak knife. There we go. I'm going to give you one of these bad boys. Bear with us, everybody. I don't have my display, so we're going to make this work. But this is a Cutco steak knife. So I want you to do the same thing. All I want you to do with this one though is I just want you to press forward and down at the same time.
Oh, damn.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about our knife is if you look a little bit closer, you'll actually notice that it looks serrated, but it's not actually serrated. So if you look a little bit closer, take out your handy dandy double D edge sheet here. So for example, with our knife, what's kind of cool about this is that I don't know if you guys have ever cut bread at home. You know how when you cut bread with a dull knife, how it kind of does the thing where it kind of just kind of smashes the bread, right? So the problem is with a serrated knife is that once a serrated knife is dull, it's dull, right? You can't really do much about that, right? So when you look at the Cutco knife, instead of the actual like tip doing the cutting, it's actually the edge in between each of those teeth that do all the cutting. So what's kind of crazy is if you hold that knife out straight out for me again, don't do anything, just press.
Oh, damn.
Pretty amazing, right? So the cool thing is you're actually cutting like a straight edge, but those teeth protect it. So what's kind of wild is that those will actually stay sharp on average about 8 to 12 years with daily use. And our straight edges, they're actually going to hold an edge usually for about 3 to 5 years with daily use, right? So if you're not super familiar with Cutco, Cutco's actually been around now for over 73 years. We're actually the #1 kitchen company sold in North America. The reason you haven't ever heard of us, we call ourselves America's best kept hidden secret, just because we're not sold in stores, right? So you're never going to walk into like a Williams Sonoma and you're not going to find a set of Cutco sitting on the shelf, right? The only way to hear about it is to see us at an event like this or through word of mouth. Let's say your mom has had it. She has a rep that says you should buy this from that person, right? So that's kind of why some people haven't heard of us. But again, we kind of call ourselves America's best kept hidden secret because once you get us, you kind of can't really ever go to another knife. We were actually featured on the Modern Marvels TV show a few years ago for the world's sharpest kitchen knife. We were actually featured on it for, that knife is obviously pretty sharp, but we were actually featured on it for having the world's sharpest straight edge. So everybody's like, oh, okay, Bert, you can always cut with a serrated edge knife, right? So this knife, this is one of our thin slicing knives. We'll get to it later, but just hold it straight out for me again.
Oh, wow.
Really sharp, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about those two is that eventually when they do go dull, that's kind of what we're famous for. So just, you know, a little bit about me. I'm Bert. I've been doing this now for about 11 years. I've been doing this full time for about 6 years. I actually service about 6,000 clients across the United States. And I actually work directly with Cutco. So they actually bring me in directly to work with our customers here at this event to help them out with service, but also to help them out with the value and our specials that we have here. So people literally wait all year to buy from us here at this event because of the specials that we do run. So again, our knives are super, super sharp, but the reason we're actually famous is how we guarantee them. Flip over your double the edge sheet to the guarantee. So this is kind of what we're famous for. A lot of people, again, when they go out and buy a set of knives, are kind of in the situation that you're in where they buy a set of knives and they go do this cycle every 2, 3, 5, 10 years where they're like, okay, our knives are just kind of dull and they just don't really work that well anymore, right? And I don't know about you, like I like to eat, but I don't like to maintain a knife, right? So I don't know about you, I'm not a chef. So what I really enjoy about Cutco is that every single time I grab it, it just works every single time, and that's without maintenance. Now the greatest thing is that eventually we're not like most knife companies that say our knives never go dull. There's just no such thing as that unless you just had it like sitting in a box for the rest of your life, right? So eventually when our knives do break or they do wear out, right, we cover that. So what's kind of cool about our knives is the first part of our guarantee is our forever performance guarantee. So for example, I had a buddy of mine in college. He actually put he had a couple too many Kool-Aids one night. He actually put one on a burner of a stovetop and literally took it from like the nub of the knife and literally the whole handle is just missing.
Oh, that sounds like what
So
we do.
yeah, so what's cool is that
Oh
even
my
though
God.
what's cool about this is that this is the receipt. So for example, let's say in 5 years from now, Brian, you end up like breaking a knife, something happens. If you send that in, guess what they send you?
Hopefully not this.
Definitely not that.
Send me a new one?
They send you a brand new one, just
Damn,
like that. Here,
that's
fast
amazing.
learner. That's awesome. So what's cool about our knives is that eventually when they do, if they ever do break, if they ever chew chip, right? I had a customer, literally her husband tried to cut sod, right, in the garden, hit a rock, literally took the knife,
geez.
snapped the knife in half. So same thing, when we sent this in, they just sent us a brand new one. Again, no questions asked. They didn't even find the other half of the knife. It's kind of crazy. But the cool thing is, as I was mentioning earlier, we're not just a knife company. So the greatest thing is, like, for example, let's say in 12 years from now, Brian, you're actually using one of your saucepans and somehow like the handle comes loose and it just isn't working as well. If you send this saucepan in, guess what they send you?
New saucepan.
Same thing, just a brand new one, right?
Wow.
The cool thing is there's no questions asked. So the cool thing is just, you know, about the pots and pans. I'm not sure if you're familiar with waterless cookware at all, but I don't know if you guys have ever cooked bacon before, and it's like a skillet, and it's always, without a doubt, a failure to get every single part of the bacon all the way cooked.
Okay.
So what's cool about our stuff, this is the most important product that we make. It's called, again, waterless cookware, but it's cool about there's actually 5 layers of steel in it, right? So if you've ever had pans that you've had that have got hot spots, right? Everything kind of gets burned. The cool thing is when you make bacon, not just does it cook at the bottom of the pan, but it cooks at the side. So all of those little pieces of bacon that get flipped up, they're cooking at the exact same temperature that's at the bottom too.
That's cool.
So what's cool is that like in 15 years from now, your burgers are still going to cook evenly. And if it breaks, you just send them a new one. It's the same thing with our flour. So for example, like Brian, if you took one of these forks one day, you'll notice that it's very lightweight, but it's super heavy duty. So what's cool about it is it's built like a tank, but it's not going to fall in or off your plate. I'm not sure if you're familiar with 1810 stainless, but it's 18% chrome and 10% nickel. So what's great is that it's the same quality that you're going to find in like a 5-star restaurant. But what's amazing about this, like, I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone into the drawer and kind of notice that you're, after you take them out of the dishwasher, they get a little pitted, a little rusted, and it's like, oh, son of a gun, I want to
Kinda
buy a
torn
new
up.
set. Yep. So what's cool about this is, I don't know if you've ever seen those old Chevy bumpers that are super shiny after like 70 years. Guess how many times those owners have like polished their bumpers? 0 times, right? So what's amazing is that when you put this in the dishwasher, Brian, in 20 years, it's going to look just as shiny as that. Right. So it doesn't matter if it's a pan, it doesn't matter if it's a pan, Brian, it doesn't matter if it's a spoon, it doesn't matter if it's a can opener, right? The whole idea is if you break it, bust it, chip it, crack it, or wear it out, send it in, they'll just send you a new one every single time, right? So the cool thing is the product is the receipt. You don't need a piece of paper or a proof of purchase to verify the fact that you bought Cutco. Like, the product is the receipt, which is great. So to give you an idea too, what's kind of cool, one of my favorite parts about the guarantee, which is why a lot of people, again, take advantage of our specials here at the event, is actually what we call our trial period. So our trial period, what's kind of cool about that, Mr. Jones, is most people don't have the idea or the intention of walking into a home show and buying a set of Cutco knives that they never heard of. So what's kind of cool about buying from us here is that you can actually buy your set, and we actually send you out the set, and then you actually get 3 full weeks to try it out. And for some reason you end up not liking them for some reason, send it back, you get a full refund, no questions asked. So let me just show you the kind of the 3 most popular sets that people like to take advantage of here while we're at the event. So the first set that we sell is the most important. It was the biggest and the best set that we make. It's called our complete set. So the complete set, the whole idea behind this set, Brian, is it's a set everybody wants. It's not necessarily the set everybody can afford, but it's a set that every single person works towards owning eventually. So a couple of the highlights in this set is you get the what calls the attitude adjuster. So this one, you'll kind of notice, you feel like a superhero when you're holding on to it. So if you ever get out of line, your wife can use this one. Just kidding. But the whole idea is you can take a literal frozen tube of ground beef and pop right through it. So if you're ever cutting through something that you feel uncomfortable with, you might break a knife. That's going to be the knife you grab. Now this one, you'll notice how much lighter it is. So you'll see that this one, I always say I feel like a pro, but you don't have to be a pro to use it. So I like that you have 2 points of leverage to push through those awkwards like sweet potatoes. If you're ever cutting through like an acorn or butternut squash, I call it the chopping knife for dummies. Again, I don't really cook very well, but the great thing is you can chop, dice, rock, and mince all with the same knife. And then you can scoop all the ingredients out, push them into a bowl as well. One of my favorites is what we call is our thin slicers. So if you guys ever cut through the occasional like melon, you guys will occasionally cut through like a lot of really thin slices of like brisket or prime rib. What's cool about this knife is it looks just like a kind of like a normal bread knife. If I borrow it back from you, it's actually tempered in a way where it's super flexible. So you can fillet all the watermelon right off the rind. Wow. So it's super, super slick. Show the video for time's sake. I'm going to show the video. You also get what we call this is my favorite knife. It's called our boning knife. I think cutting through raw meat, Brian, with a dull knife is like the most frustrating thing.
That's my I do the grill.
So what's great about this is that when you take a raw like chicken breast, you can actually butterfly the chicken without ripping and tearing through it like you're going through with a chainsaw. So it's nice that you can glide through those pieces of raw meat. So if you're ever trimming fat off like a brisket or if you're cutting through like chicken breast, this is the knife that you'll use all the time. And then probably one of the most important tools that people use every single day is a paring knife. And our complete sets, it's the only one that has the longer paring knife. Both the family set and the basic set have a smaller paring knife. It's just always dirty. So it's just kind of nice to have something a little bit bigger. So those are a couple of the highlights in the complete set. Now the basic set's a great set of knives. If you're kind of looking for just a basic set of knives, it's kind of for the minimalists that don't have a huge budget for knives. What's great is that this kind of has your basic tools. You get some steak knives, paring knife, chef knife, carving set, bread knife, couple utility knives. But eventually, if you want to get into this set, we actually have an upgrade program. So what's cool is that you can get into this. What we do is we'll buy back your block. You keep the knives, just add the knives you're missing, and everything you have here, plus the new ones, just fit all in that block. And then you eventually can get that. So eventually that's everybody's end goal. Now the family set, it's kind of the in-betweener between these two. So it's for the person that wants this, but can't quite budget for it. So this set has basically a couple of the highlights. It doesn't have all of them. So it's got the scissors, it's got the non-stick utility cheese knife for potatoes, a small chopper, and a small barbecue knife. It just doesn't have all of those kind of highlights. Now for you, Brian, if you were to again pick a set that you're going to have for the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life, which size set do you think would be the best set for you?
Yeah, I like those knives you showed me there at the top. We do a lot of grilling and barbecue.
Okay. I kind of call it the carnivore set. So if you guys do a lot of grilling and barbecuing, this would be the set. So just give me an idea. Let me kind of go through some pricing really quick with you. Have you guys ever had the chance to price out high quality knives?
Not really. I know they're not cheap.
Yeah, obviously good things aren't cheap. Are you familiar with like grills or like guns?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you know, like when you go out for the first time and spend $1,000 on a grill, you're like, holy crap, I'm about to spend $1,000 on a grill.
Yeah.
But once you get it, you know how awesome it is.
Absolutely.
Same thing with knives. So if you've never priced out high quality kitchen knives, it's like, yeah, they're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. So to give you an idea, if you were to go like buy a different brand, like for example, like the Wusthof, if you were to go buy a full set of their stuff, it's going to be about $2,000 a day. Shouldn't they go upwards of like 3,300 bucks if you were to buy a set? They're Japanese. Great stuff. The biggest problem that you run into though is that when you break one of theirs, guess what happens? You're out, right? You just kind of have to buy a new one. Whereas with Cutco,
Which is kind of where we're at.
the cool thing about Cutco, right, is that once it breaks, you're good to go, which is kind of cool as well. So to give you an idea on kind of what's cool about Cutco is even though again we're guaranteed forever and we're American made, a lot of people think we're going to be more expensive. The big difference is that because we don't sell our stuff in stores, we don't have the middleman, right? So even though our biggest set of knives is literally twice as many pieces as that basic Wusthof set, it's actually still less than their sale price, which is kind of cool as well. So let me give you a kind of rundown on the three main sets. So this is where I'll run through the three sets and I'll just kind of be like, cool, awesome. So yeah, okay, cool. All right, so to give you an idea on this, and this is usually, by the way, guys, I'll have the Cutco kitchen out there, right? So usually at this point, we've kind of brought that up, but it's the whole idea is like, yeah, so I show this first option to every single person that comes up because this is everybody's end goal. So we call it our Cutco kitchen. So the whole idea behind this, right? It's the best value that Cutco has, but the whole idea is not everybody can do it in one shot. If you can, it kind of just makes sense because once you have it, you never have to replace it, right? So whether that's again, the pots and pans, the spoons and forks, or the knives, if anything chips, cracks, or breaks, you're guaranteed forever, and it's your most savings. And again, it's not cheap, but what's cool about Cutco is that when you do buy it as a package, it's about $10,500 on sale, but we actually have this thing called a reverse layaway program. So you can actually take the total and split it up over 5 months. So again, the sake of time.
That's nice. What would just the knives be though?
Yep.
I didn't know that we could do all that.
Yep. So to give you an idea on the complete set, Mr. Jones, this essentially, if you were to buy from Cutco, is going to be about $39.50 if you were to buy the full set. What's great about it when you buy from here at the event from Cutco as a set, they actually discounted about $700 down to $32.59. Now, just like with the Cutco kitchen, the greatest reason why people buy from us here at the event is because nobody really has a budget for $3,200 on knives. We just take that total and then we just split it over 5 months. There's no interest, there's no financing, there's no layaway. You literally don't even get a bill. This just comes off automatically every 30 days. The cool thing is you get the full set right away, and then there's just 4 more payments at the $651, and you're done essentially by May. So the cool thing is you get your set, but you don't have to like wait to get it, which is kind of great as well. Now, if you're to start with something a little bit smaller, to give you an example, if you're to do like the basic set would be with steak knives, you do it for $1,762. That can also be split. That'd be about $352. And then if you did the in-betweener, we call it the family size set, you'd be looking at about $482 a month over the 5 months. So for you, considering the fact that you're going to start to have these for the next 30 years, which size set do you think would you still like the idea of the complete set, or would you lean towards something a little bit smaller? What do you think?
I mean, I think that the complete set, if we're gonna do something, probably makes the most sense given how we cook.
Okay.
It's a lot, but
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's one of those things where, again, one of those things where you rip the Band-Aid off, you buy once, you cry once, but you smile forever, because every single time you buy Cutco, again, the cool thing is you're never gonna have to replace your kitchen knives ever again. The only reason you'll buy more knives is because you want them, because of the situation where you're kind of in like, kind of need them, right? Because you don't want to sharpen up your knives all the time. So let me ask you this, Brian. So you have two options on the color. You can do classic or a pearl. Do you have a preference on the color?
We got a white kitchen. My wife would die. She'd love the white.
White's
I don't think I've ever
absolutely
seen white
beautiful.
knives before.
And then do you like the idea of the cherry color for the block, or would you like a little bit of a lighter honey stain?
I guess the darker one.
The darker with the white, by the way, looks phenomenal. I usually
Okay.
show a picture on my phone at that point to show them if you don't have the example. It's beautiful. Now, do you like the idea of splitting it over 5 months? Would you rather just pay for it? Does that matter to you?
So there's no interest on it.
No interest. It's basically you get to use Cutco's money for free for 5 months. Again, there's a $12 setup fee. That's it. There's no interest though. As long as you pay your credit card off every month, there's no interest. There's no financing on that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we probably break it up.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Brian. Since we're here at the event, you're here now. It sounds like if you have the set, you'd use the tools. It sounds like if you wanted to budget for it, you could. If I was able to do something a little extra special for you on top of, again, the Cutco corporate discount that they're already giving you when you buy it as a set, would you maybe be open to just going for it?
I mean, what are we talking about?
Okay, cool. So I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever found like the favorite pair of pants, the favorite pair of like shoes that you find. Like once
Sure.
you get them, you can never have enough.
Hey, look at me.
Cutco's kind of like that, right? So one of the things people always come back and ask me about later is our Cutco cutting boards. Now the cool thing about our cutting boards is that they're polypropylene, so it's the most sanitary like material that you can use. Essentially, when you guys are using and cutting on a cutting board, if you're going to like a professional chef's kitchen, they're using polypropylene boards essentially. Because what's cool is it's non-porous, so they're designed to get cut up. That's what a cutting board is called. They're supposed to get cut up. So what's cool is that over time, though, you know how all cutting boards eventually get pretty nasty on you?
Ours are gross.
They're disgusting, right? So every like 6 months to a year, you just buy new cutting boards. What's cool is that eventually, when they get to the point where they just can't be fixed or they can't be replaced, and it's just one of those things that are kind of nasty. If you send in your cutting boards, guess what they send you back?
Oh, they just replace these
Well,
too.
the cutting boards as well. So they're also called forever boards. So the cool thing is they've got the lip catcher for the juices, the melons and meats, and they've got the rubber pegs so they don't slip and slide. So we have three. We have a large, a medium, and a small. If you were to buy them normally, they're going to cost you about $96. So the first thing I'm going to do for you is I'm going to make sure all three of those are included. Our sharpener, I don't know about you. You're from Texas?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know about you, but all my customers in Texas love convenience.
absolutely.
So one of the things that my customers always come back for, usually afterwards, as well as our sharpener for our straight edges. Now, it's not something you have to buy.
Sure.
It's just a lot of people will buy it later because let's say in 8 years from now it's Christmas and you
Yeah.
want to sharpen up your paring knife that you use all the time.
That makes sense.
I get it. It's a little inconvenient to have to send out your knife for sharpening. So what's cool is that after about 8 to 12 pulls, this sharpener will take a dull Cutco knife and it'll make it sharp again. So what's great is that you don't have to send this in. You can just do it. And of course, you can always send it in when you have a little bit more free time. But if you need a sharp knife, this is going to work. So if you were to buy this later, this is usually going to cost you about $57. Now, on top of that, Brian, just because I want you to really like me more and buy more later, if you had to pick up 2 out of these 5 forever kitchen gadgets that work better than anything you have in the kitchen, what would you pick?
Love pizza, and I mean ice cream is always a great choice.
Obviously.
Blue Bell Country.
I love your style. So sell the ice cream scoop and sell the pizza cutter for the sake of time. You guys know how to do that. So here's what I'm gonna do for you, Brian. So we're gonna get you the complete set of knives. I know you said that your wife would like the white, so we're gonna get you the white knives with the cherry color block. I'm just gonna get you again the pieces you're most excited about. That big meat cleaver. I know you guys do a lot of grilling, and that boning knife. You guys do a lot of trimming of meats. You're gonna get the 12 big steak knives as well. You're gonna get the block to hold all of those knives. All of those knives fit right in there. You're also gonna get the 3 forever cutting boards. Again, and you're also going to get that forever sharpener. I'll take the cutting boards, put them on top of each other, put them on top of the boards just to show them for display. And then on top of that, just because again, I want you to like me more and buy more later, Brian, I'm going to personally buy you that $53 ice cream scoop. And I'm also going to buy you the $61 pizza cutter as well. So that would be that. And all that would be today would just be $652. Again, we'll send it out to you. You and your wife get 3 weeks from the day that you receive them to try it out. Make sure you love them. And if you change your mind, by the way, Brian, like I do this full time. If you change your mind, just give me a call. We'll send it back, get you a full refund. But assuming you love them, like everybody else, you're literally never going to have to replace your kitchen knives literally for the rest of your life. And every single time you grab a knife, it's just going to work. So what do you think?
I'll do it. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
sounds good. High five. Over the Cutco family. You just got to promise me you're going to watch your fingers, all right?
Heck yeah.
All right.
That was awesome.
All right.
So, hey, just real quick, time-wise, I think we're still good for like 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Can you show us whatever your version of, since we saw your script, what is your famous let go? Like, how do you have customers leave if it's
Yeah.
not more than a couple minutes?
No, yeah, it shouldn't take 2. Yeah. So basically what I'll say is, so a couple things about, so awesome. So I'll say
Yeah,
something
finish the
along the
order.
lines. Yeah, finish the order. Awesome. So usually when I'm giving the receipt, this is kind of when my famous let go starts. Again, if you're still using paper order forms, or if you're not, you can of course send them a receipt as well. So on the paper order forms that I do is I'll fold that over and I go, so a couple things, Mrs. Jones, a couple reminders, friendly reminders. So every single time we think about Cutco, we're always going to smile because again, you're going to have Cutco forever, right? You smile, you cry once, you buy once, you cry once, right? But you're going to smile forever. forever because every single time you use them, they're going to work.
Right.
Again, you're going to remind, I always put my name right on there as well in big bold letters. Again, I go by Cutco Bert, the sharpest guy you know. I just have one last favor to ask you. Never have a one knife stand with anyone else.
See what you did
So the idea, Mrs. Jones, and then I have a Cutco pamphlet that I give. So the cool thing is, Mrs. Jones, this actually has all of my information on it. So again, I know we got you started with the knives today, but again, a lot of people, once they get the knives, they kind of decide to say, welcome to the addiction. Once you get started with Cutco, you can't really stop. So eventually, when you want to eventually replace your guys' pots and pans or your flatware, the great thing is Cutco guarantees them, as I mentioned before, the exact same way. So the whole idea is that eventually down the road, if you have questions on Cutco, I always say I'm kind of like your store. So if you ever like, I have a question on Cutco, you can shoot me an email, you can give me a call, or you can shoot me a text whenever you need to. Essentially, I'm your guy. So I just ask if you ever see Cutco anywhere else, whether it's a home show, a state fair, if you're traveling to a random place in Nevada, if you see Cutco, again, just remember that I'm your guy and I'll always take care of you with the service down the road as well. So with that, here's all my information. It's got my name, number, email on the back. It's actually got my social security number just in case you don't get your order. No, just kidding. But besides that, you guys have any questions at all for me?
I don't think so.
Cool. Awesome. You're gonna love your knives. You should have them about 3 or 4 weeks and you're good to go. So
Holy cow. Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Just being on that side, I nearly just bought another set. So wow. Well, guys, I'm excited. Tomorrow you're going to get a chance to see Josh Muller on flatware. We're going to be doing some objection master class, and big thanks to Bert and everyone for being so incredible. So Amy, why don't we go ahead and kick it back to you?
Awesome. We actually have some questions. So Bert and Brian, if you can get back to your computers, if you can hear me, Bert,
Oh,
that'd be great.
yeah, go ahead.
And in the meantime, Dave, if you're still helping me manage the screen, if we could when we get Bert and Brian back on screen for a couple questions, and then we're going to get all speakers on screen for a few wrap-up questions here at the end as well. So,
Okay.
Brian Carter, can he hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So quick question for you, Brian, before I go
Yeah.
to Bert. One is I have a question of, do you use all of the business gift examples on every approach? Like earlier today, you showed multiple examples. Do you do that every time, or is that just something you did today?
No, usually I try to find something. I try to give examples for things that are the closest to their industry. So if they're blue collar, I have builders and architects and earth movers. If they're kind of service professionals, I have a dentist. If they're real estate agents, I have that. If they're insurance or financial services, I have that. So it's generally either something I think will resonate with them, like sort of taking it off their plate, or it's something that's just more in line with whatever industry they're in.
Awesome. This might
But
seem like
if we're in high rapport and they'll spend the time with me, sure, I'll go through as many of them as it seems like they're still interested.
okay, awesome. So you can kind of read their language as body language and all that thing, know whether or not you should move on or continue showing them stuff if they're
That's the
into
goal,
it.
at least.
Yeah, awesome. Quick question for you both, and this might seem really simple, but Bert, since you guys know each other, you were obviously using Brian's name from the get-go. How is it that normally you guys are getting people's names from them? And also, if you want to add to that, even if you have customers walk up, what's your trick to getting their names again if you're not remembering their names, even though they're your customer?
So first off, if it's a person that I've never met before, usually after I cut leather, I'll be like, yes, what's your name? And again, or I'll usually, yeah, actually, now that I think about it, usually when I'm doing my like, hey, about me, I'll say, what's your name really quick? And they'll say, again, Brian, awesome, great to meet you, Brian. So just, a little bit about me, I'm Bert, and then I do my little power intro there. So it's usually about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in. And then if it's a past customer, the best way to do this is just to have little drawing handouts. So if you draw customers to the booth, just have them write that down. And I usually am at that time, just I pull out my phone and they'll write down their information, build a couple report, how have you been, da, 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 and I'll try to like look, and then I'll pull up their account on my CRM to pull up the last notes, things like that. But that's the easiest way. Other way is a great way to do it with being kind of sly, is like, what's your name again? And they'll say, Brian, no, your last name. And they'll say, oh, Carter. Yeah, okay, cool. Again, I remember you. Right.
Damn, he's so much more slick than me. I'm just literally like, guys, I have the worst memory in the world. Tell me your name again. I just remember you guys were awesome and you liked Cutco.
Nice.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man. That's honesty is the best policy too.
Both are great. Okay, so another question for you, Bert, is when you are showing like the homie and the Siggy at the booth, do you normally use the brochures and the sheets, or are you usually pointing at the display knives themselves?
So when I start showing, I always use the brochure because I don't want to, I'm a big believer in like, if you overwhelm a customer, it's a great way for them to pick a smaller set. So what I didn't get to is if a person picks the signature or the family set, I will, or excuse me, the homemaker or the family set, I will run through what comes in that set to create that want. Because I've created the want right within the complete set with those 5 knives. I haven't really done that yet with the basic and the family size set. So if they pick one of those, I'll be like, yeah, so just so you know what you get in it real quick before I go into pricing. So again, I'll build the crap out of the cheese knife. I'll build the crap out of the Hardy slicer, the scissors. I'll talk about the petite santoku, and I'll mention the pieces in the homemaker really quick. Like, yeah, so you get a paring knife, a basic utility knife. You get a spreader. This thing's amazing. It's great for avocados. I'll show it to them. Get a small utility set, Mrs. Jones. This utility fork's great to get your husband out of bed in the morning. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. Great for pickles, olives, cherries. It's also great for bacon, sausage in a fry pan. You get a chopper. Hold the butcher knife. This is a great knife, Mrs. Jones, for if you didn't have the complete set, this would be your bigger meat knife. Doesn't have the substantial weight that the cleaver does, but it'll get the job done. Again, keep in mind, they are no longer interested really in this, which is fine. So now sell them on the pieces that are going to make them feel good about the family set and the basic set. And then you get a bigger carving set for your ham turkeys, roast beef, briskets, and you still get 10 or you still get 8 of those little butter steak knives. That's how I explain the family set and the basic set if they're not picking the ultimate. But usually I'm just talking just brochures up until that point where they pick one of these two. And then I'll be like, I'll lay it out for them. You can do the same thing, right, with this, but you don't have to.
One little add-on, you didn't ask me, but he mentioned before there's only a few pieces in each set you need to get good at. Getting good at the forks on the homemaker is so simple and so great. And my favorite 2 things with those is I always just pull them out and go, hey, honestly, these are so small, they don't hardly add anything to the price, but I find they're really convenient. So just by leading with like, these aren't expensive, not really affecting the price much, I kind of get away from customers trying to customize them out because they just are sort of taking it for granted. But also using, because we're in Texas, the 2 forks for shredding pulled pork, barbecue beef, things like that, in addition to the ones he threw out.
And just reminding them too, I know Alicia, you mentioned me to mention this, right? To mention to a customer that if a person wants to take the forks out, to get ahead of that by saying, so it sounds silly, Mrs. Jones, but if you take this fork out, the price actually goes up. Right. So it doesn't really make sense to take them out. Even though you might not use them every day, they're really nice to have when you do need them. Right. And again, I could throw in a couple bells and whistles to make you feel really good about it by throwing in shears and a homemaker or something like that. So
do you not cut pennies in your approaches?
I do. Oh, so usually, like I kind of mentioned, I kind of briefed over it, but usually when I'm going through the pricing for the first time, like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Let me show you how amazing the quality of our stuff is, right? Okay. And then I usually, when I've showed the prices, and I really haven't even necessarily asked them then that third, like, hey, what set would you want? Just for the sake of time, I was like, yeah, we'll just keep it kind of simple. But like, if you get to the complete set, they're like, cool, that's the price. Oh my gosh, I almost totally forgot. Do you guys use the scissors at all around the house? Oh, I can take it apart. Yeah, so these again are amazing. I know for a fact that you've been looking for a pair of scissors that cuts pennies your whole entire life. So check this out. I cut a penny, and they're like, get shut. Are you kidding me? You're cutting a penny, right? And so keep in mind, right? You've already made them want it, right? And you're at $3,200. They're already considering it, and then you cut a penny with the scissors. They're like, holy Jesus, I have to buy this, right? And it's just the quality is just reaffirmed there. And again, I got that from Kareem. So instead of cutting the penny right after the guarantee, hold it until you get to the part where you're actually talking about pricing and what they're getting. Because then it's like they want the ultimate and they want the signature set, right? Because that's what comes in it, right? You still haven't offered anything for free. And that's the power of waiting for the scissors. Because like, yeah, Mrs. Jones, that comes in the family set and it comes in the complete set. And they're like, oh, I need a scissors. Right. And they'll justify spending again an extra $600 literally because of the scissors. But then you can talk about the other pieces that come in it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's a brilliant placement of that. Thank you, Kareem. So, and Brian, thank you for the adding, Brian, because that was great. The fork thing is awesome. I appreciate you jumping in with that. Another question is, and Dave, you might have to help answer this. I'm getting a question of, is it confirmed that the factory will replace old gross cutting boards? Because we've gotten mixed answers on that from Cutco.
Hey guys, actually we will have a formal documentation. One thing that's been taking place is that with the relaunch of our service called Elite program, what is going to be happening is that Robert Danbury and myself have been meeting with the head of return and repair. That was one of the questions that we have, along with many other questions that we frequently get. We are getting a new source document that will cover every single aspect of this. In the meantime, I will have that answer as part of the questions and answers that we send out to everybody, so you can see the official company response on things like cutting boards, product has been discontinued, and the credit amounts. A lot of the things that people are running into at events or at service events or on service calls, we are looking to put together in one document, and that's something that we have on there. So bear with me. By this time next week, you guys will have that answer formalized in a document about what the company policy is for that.
Perfect. Next question
and
for
thank
Brian.
you for the 1/3 credit, National, so we can take care of
I
the
know.
guys now.
Exactly. Yeah, we use that too, by the way, the whole credit board thing. So I was like, we should probably ask so that we know if we should continue saying that. So, okay. So another question for Brian and Bert is with regards, especially Brian, since you did business gifts, but you both can't answer, obviously. With regards to businesses, if you are talking to someone at a booth and you find out they are with a company where you're having that conversation, but that person is not the person who makes decisions, you find out they're just a person at that company and like they can't make that decision now, what's your next step?
So I just want to say really quick, Rob Robinchek, he kind of blew my mind at our State Fair, Texas kind of retreat that we had. And he was just sort of sharing with me how many times it's normal for him to have to communicate with the businesses that he does. And then he also just reiterated how a lot of salespeople are honestly bad at their jobs, not directed necessarily at Vector and Cutco, but I think if we're honest, we could take that on the nose. And one of my, probably 2 of my 4 biggest business gift orders I had last year. And again, I'm not doing 100K orders, but I had a couple 8, 10K orders. 2 of the biggest ones, I think there were 12 to 13 follow-up emails. And one of them, I actually went and met with them in their office. So half of them for my biggest ones, I closed at the booth. The other half, it did take follow-up, and it was a lot more consistent follow-up. And that's where the tools from National and also a few things that Rob really brought to our team were super helpful. Having like the lead sheet where I could take more detailed notes than I had in the past, and I could reference and name drop more effectively because it was there. Having the trifold from National, even just having the signage out. It's so simple, but like, this is like the best $40 that should be in every booth display. Last time I ordered these, I ordered 5 of them, just so that way I could just sort of have them distributed as we need them. So that's the answer for me, but Bert's probably more developed systems than I have.
No, I would say it's pretty similar. Just like you have to have a system in place. So like for me, one of the things that I do is, within paper order forms, what I do is I'll always put down biz. I'll circle that, right? So when I send my assistant the orders to get Rolloed, what they'll do is they'll make sure to also put them into my drip campaign for businesses, right? Which is essentially right now, it's a pretty simple, just they send out the market, or they basically send out an email with like the pricing on like the business gift. And it's basically kind of like, here's why you should pick Cutco, right? And then usually within my notes, it's cool. Who do I need to talk to? It's also, what is this person interested in? What is that person's role within the company? And also like, it's a judgment call, right? But would sending a sample be worth it? But it's also important that if you think your gut says maybe, put sample ? Right? And then also put a thing of like, what that would be a good idea, like what knife they were most excited about. So then when you do end up going into your CRM, you have all the notes, you have all the things. Then I also set a task to follow up 2 weeks after the order's been processed. Make sure they got the thing that they wanted, that they ordered, and then also just follow up again on that conversation. What I've been doing, this is all from John Clovey, which is how can I make sure that the sample I am sending is actually worth my money, right? So it's like calling them again, being like, hey, just making sure you got the order that you placed, just following up again, just to kind of like revisit what we talked about at the booth, just kind of seeing where you're at with the idea of the gifting. Did you get the opportunity to talk to your partner? Do you still have interest in that? And it's simple, but like if they don't have interest, it's okay to just like add them to your list and then revisit next year, right? But if they have interest, like, oh yeah, I totally forgot, I'm going to mention to it. It's like, hey, if they're going to talk to them on Tuesday, call them on Wednesday. So just be good about follow-up. And I think that's going to help you close more. That's going to help you close bigger orders. But it's just about every person's system is different. But it's like, how can you just trap yourself into following up is my question for myself, which is why I've gotten better.
2 other real quick thoughts. I think having an engraved outdoorsman, I know from this far back, it's hard to see, it pops. It is very, very eye-catching and substantial. But I also think a lot of people, their business gift samples are really lacking in more blue-collar industries. I had one of my construction companies. When I say construction, they're the builders. I mean, it's Arturo Construction, and they did 20 K-bars and 30 lockbacks. This is, again, a bulldozing company, and they literally mailed me a koozie. That's how I got their logo. And I was like, this is unusable. unusable, and we just did a new one for him. I sold to a handyman. This guy is just like a literally local handyman, and he bought 10 of these gift sets because he's like, I only do 8 to 10 jobs a year, but that pays for my entire year. So these are high dollar things. So I think a lot of our stuff, it's so specific to realtors or banks or things like that. If you can have things specific to you, but in any of the national samples, if we had more blue collar type things, I think that's a massively underserved area with a lot of our gifting strategies.
I agree with that.
Awesome. Next question is, can you guys tell us how much customizing you're doing in sets? Are you normally selling sets as is? Or are you doing a lot of customizing?
As is. I will customize a homemaker if I need to, but just remember how you position things matter. So if I mentioned, just so you know, Mrs. Jones, if you take a fork out, price goes up, right? And another thing that's important to say is one of the big lines that I use is I don't set the price, right? Cutco sets the price, right? So I don't have any say in that, right? That's way above my pay grade. I don't have influence on what the cost of the materials are, but this is what Cutco sells it for. So if you were to try to go out and piece out every single piece individually, this is what it would cost you. So Cutco heavily incentivizes their customers to take advantage of their bundle packages and their built-in savings within their sets. And again, Mrs. Jones, think about it this way. Do you ever maybe once in a while, occasionally ever carve through a bigger piece of meat? Yeah, occasionally. You're probably going to get value over the next 40 years of your life out of a carving set. It's going to pay for itself after the first 10 turkeys instead of using an electric knife that just sounds like a lawnmower every time you try to cut open a turkey, right? So just bring a pain point back to that. Again, you don't lead ever with I can customize a set for you. That's a great way to pigeonhole yourself and put yourself in a position where you have to feel like you're giving away the farm, right? That's an extra special thing. Jason Jeffrey does it the best, where he's like, so this is not something you can buy from Cutco. If you do it, this is a set that if you were to go out, you'd have to buy everything a la carte, and it would cost you about $1,700, right? But because you're doing it at this event, and I want to earn your business and help you buy more later, I'm going to actually swallow the cost, right, of that upgrade fee, and we're going to keep the price the same price, right? Instead of giving away scissors or giving away stuff, I just eat the cost. I don't give anything for free if I customize an upgrade, unless it has to be a peeler or a cutting board maybe, right? But I'm not throwing in an extra if I don't have to, right? Again, at the end of the day, close the sale, but you don't have to give away the farm. And I just think positioning matters. You don't have to customize a set if you get good at selling the pieces within the sets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would mostly echo that. Complete sets and family sets are never customized ever, period, no exceptions. Homemakers, if it's a drop down and that's just the thing that's going to keep them from walking, they really just are hung up on a few of the knives, I'll customize a homemaker, but I position the hell out of it. But I will say I also went through that phase where I was selling most of my homemakers customized, and I didn't think forward 3-4 years later what that was going to do to my upgrade cycle with customers, and it messes with it significantly. And so I would just caution everyone, it's a tool, do it if you need to, and it's in line with your goals, but just to understand the effect that'll have on that next generation of work you're doing with that clientele.
Yep. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. If we can get Brandon and Kareem back on screen too, I'm going to ask you guys all a question that I would like every speaker to answer if you're willing to. But while you're thinking of the answer, I'm going to do a couple quick announcements for tomorrow, and then we'll come back and answer, right? Here's my question. So all day today, and even in the Hall of Fame breakout, people are talking about the tools that they use. I show this video, I have this brochure, I do this, whatever. Brian just said, have that pop up. So if you could maybe just do a fire round of some of the tools that you think are must-haves to help in the booth or when you're, selling Cutco in general, that'd be great. While you're thinking about that really quick, I'm going to give you guys a couple quick announcements again, just to make sure in case you didn't hear them earlier. One is tomorrow, if you're joining us for the coordinator breakout, that begins again at 11 a.m. Eastern time, of course. If you're coming back, of course, those of you coming back for day 2 of NET starts the same time it started today. So 1 p.m. Eastern time. And so we'll be back with amazing speakers tomorrow. You're going to hear from Josh Muller and Matt Graves and Curtis J. Hughes and Stacey Campbell, all who are super amazing guys. And by the way, I know, Sebastian, I did not answer your flatware question today. We will get that answered tomorrow, because tomorrow, as Brian said, they're going to even do flatware. I think it's part of the role play. So I'm going to save that, but remember to ask it again tomorrow if for some reason it doesn't get answered, but that way we have that time allotted. So tomorrow, coordinator breakout, and then NET, of course. And then if you don't have it in your calendar yet, remember I said it earlier, but 2/15, February 15th, we're going to be doing a NET speaker follow-up Q&A. So you can start implementing things now, come back on the 15th, which is at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1 to 2:30, and ask those follow-up questions to the speakers so that you can get some fine tuning happening as well once you've started implementing. So now that I've done that, if you guys could, Kareem, if you want to begin, we'll go Kareem, Brandon, then Bert and Brian. If you want to share the must-have tools, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing was mentioned a couple times, having some version of a special with the Cutco Kitchen laminated front and center at your booth. I use Vast Action. Other tools, definitely having engraved pieces. I always have, like, no matter what kind of event, I always have 2 engraved gift sets out, and a lot of my pieces inside my sets are engraved as well. Another tool I use a lot is the trifold that just comes in the regular prospectus, that where you can show homemaker, family set, complete set. I got that laminated, and so I use that. Most of the time I just have one display board of knives out, and that's just stuff that wouldn't be on that trifold really. And if they want to see any of those other ones, I grab them out of my ultimate set. Other tools. As far as at the booth, I think that's the majority of the game changers for me.
Awesome. Something else pops up, you can always come back in after the round. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I would say more so than what you need to have at the booth is like what your booth looks like. I'm gonna just, because I know I speak for a lot of coordinators and top reps, is like, if your knives are scratched, don't be cheap, get new ones. If your top layer of your flatware is scratched, like, I guarantee you that has a direct correlation to how much flatware you're selling. If your cookware is dropped on the ground a couple times, get a new one. Just get a full cookware set. I guarantee you every CSP here who has a full cookware set dragged their feet to get the full cookware set. And then once they got it, they'll say how much more they sold, how many more walks, how many legacy kitchens. So those are very simple action steps that you can take, where even if you don't improve your skill set, you're naturally going to get more interest because of how it looks, the shine, and because of the price point of Cutco. You obviously want to be able to have your display represent the quality that Cutco has to offer. I also only have steak knives in my ultimate and my signature, so that's another thing as well. So
nice. Bert and Brandon, or sorry, Bert and Brian. Lots of bees.
I would say I'll echo all of that, because I think that's kind of how kind of this is. I don't think I would say, oh, your booth shouldn't look good. Your booth should look amazing. So I'm going to echo what both Kareem and Brandon said. I would say, again, the hidden gems that I think really do make an impact is having a Wusthof knife to be able to compare another high quality knife to, again, a high quality knife that we make to really make that impact. And then also very old Cutco that has been sent in and been refurbished and is sharp as hell. So like having an old school butcher knife from 1955 that cuts leather like butter, that matters. So I would say that. And then again, the ultimate and signatures with steak knives, I would say has been a huge game changer in selling more. Like, I don't sell ultimates and like signatures with table knives very like ever, because it's just, that's what it comes with. It just comes with the big ones. Yeah, and having grave samples, as many as you have, it always makes it look good.
Yeah, I would echo what all of these guys have said. For my booth, like, I only do the steak knives. My booth is at our rodeo, so we have just this as a backup. But I agree with them 1,000%. If you don't have steak knives in your sets, like, you're crazy. It's so simple, but the brochures being laminated. If you don't have family program, the upgrade, the skills for life in the Cutco kitchen brochures, like, laminated and easily accessible, you're crazy. Curtis Shakes has an incredible talk on how to use those tools really effectively to introduce and sell almost any package. We can make sure we get the link out. I think verticality is super underrated. Making sure that you have the sets of the 3 cutting boards, you're using that to stack sets so they're easy to pull out and show. By the way, like, get 5 of those, like, that's the simplest thing for $35 and 1/3 credit or whatever it is, $30. All of a sudden you've got a few more sets of cutting boards that are clean and new using shelves. But I think the big thing is just for us, we're always slowly turning the temperature up on our expectations for displays. Like, how good are your backdrops? And then what's next? How good are your tablecloths? What's next? Do you have a lot of cookware? Do you have a legacy cookware set? So your booth is never done, and the second you think your displays are done, you're just going to be left behind. So I don't think we always have to be pouring money into tools and resources, but I think you should be budgeting a little bit every year to continue improving your visual display. And the Fire GroupMe is a great way to stay on top of best practices, or just kind of keeping your ear to the ground. And personally engraved samples, which Stephen Decker touched on earlier today too. So you can share your stories with your business gift clients, I think is huge.
And I think, by the way, Brian, I think you said skills for life a minute ago, but I believe you meant sets for life in case
I
anyone.
did mean sets. Sorry, guys. My manager brain turned me to mush. Sets for life. Please
That's
don't
okay.
judge me harder than you already are.
No worries. By the way, we've had a couple questions come up of like where to get old Cutco. My understanding, you guys can correct me, but usually you get old Cutco from seeing customers who have old Cutco and then do whatever it takes to get them to trade you for new Cutco or whatnot. That's how we got ours. And I would also suggest that if you run into a customer that has whooshed off and you can even get that from them rather than buying a new one would be better, because a new whooshed off is going to cut okay, right? But if you can get one that's been around for a little while, it's not going to cut as well. So my next question for you guys, by the way, all speakers, is you guys have been around for a while. You've learned from a lot of people. You've each told me of powerful things you've learned from each other and other reps. So if you have something in mind that you can suggest of, here's a message I know you can go find a Vector Connect audio video library that I know made an impact on me. What are the messages you can remember hearing that you would suggest others listen to? Or what books, because I know, Brandon, you're all about the psychology of everything you did today was more about understanding psychology. So are there books even that you recommend on those subjects that could help? And anybody can go that wants to go first.
I can go first. The whys behind everything with Brandon. That's like the single-handedly, I've probably listened to that 150 times. I feel like now in my life, like that is just one of the best. It's like 30 whatever minutes. It's so good. That's by Brandon. So listen to that one. And then I would say the other one is just Upserving by Josh, the original OG message. Because you're doing this, I could do this. Genius. So, and really implementable.
Nice. Anyone else have an answer? Do you want me to ask the next question?
I'll jump in. Curtis has a video on just tools to introduce packages, which is largely just a masterclass on using the brochures. I would echo Josh on the Upserving, but also him on the famous Let Go, having like a strategic way that you want your customers to sort of exit that interaction and sort of carry that feeling, blow the balloon back up. But also Seth Kinzer has done talks on Upserving and on selling ultimate sets, and they're astonishing. And I think I think ultimate sets are just one of the most underrated tools to just having massive days that we all kind of know, but a lot of people haven't taken the time, like Kareem, like Brandon, like Bert, like Seth, to really master on the highest level. So I think those talks are exceptional.
I'll do a quick share, and mine is not necessarily a message or a book as much as I've learned a lot through like self-teaching, and really that came from creating the space and time to reflect after an interaction or after the day. It's very easily to like mentally check out after a really long day, but you're driving home anyways, even if it's just going through your, recycling through your day and how those interactions went, the no sales and the sales, there's a lot of golden nuggets in there. And that's the best way to like self-teach yourself and learn and improve for the next day or the next time you're working an event. And I think it's just underrated and people don't take the time to actually do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. You guys have been so helpful today and shared such great information. I'm sure everyone here is going to benefit greatly from it. We're going to wrap that up there. And then I'm just going to mention one last time, tomorrow, you guys, everything they just mentioned. So tomorrow is Cutco Kitchens, upgrades, ultimate sales, all that stuff is on the agenda for NET tomorrow. So make sure that you are here and on time so that you can take advantage of all of that. And lastly, I will say, if you've seen the agenda, you know that Alicia was supposed to wrap us up today. Unfortunately, Alicia Anderer has come down sick. Like, she's sick. She tested positive today. She's not doing well. She's lost her voice. She was going to try and muster through it, but it just got worse and worse. And so she couldn't do that. She feels terrible about not being able to be here. She's so proud to be part of this community. She's been loving the national consultant role and helping people and all of that stuff. So it's just killing her that she can't wrap us up today, but that's what happened. That's why she's not here. But if you know Alicia and you want to text her some well wishes to getting better quickly, I'm sure she'd appreciate it. She probably won't be taking calls since she can't really talk right now. But that's it for NET today. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Thanks for being an amazing audience, amazing speakers, and we look forward to doing this again one more time tomorrow. Bye.